Well, it's like the one off the shelf. Yeah, the old story about the... We're almost there. 1 minute. What can I do for you? Yeah. Eric. Okay. I don't have a pen. Okay. Well, we'd like to welcome everyone today to June the 1st. Can you believe May went so fast for me? I'm looking at Kevin of our tourism office and saying, wow, it's already June, and here we are. So the 90 days of summer begin. We'd like to welcome everyone to this Board of Commissioners meeting for Washington County, Utah, and especially like to recognize the fact that we have this being broadcast, and it will be continually broadcast, this meeting, for your information, on cable channels 22 and 108 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. thanks to the Community Education Channel, also on youtube.com/Community Education Channel. Another thing that we seldom read, but we want for the public record to be aware of, is our policy on reasonable accommodation. On the bottom of our agenda, but for the public's knowledge, I'll read it as follows. Washington County will make efforts to provide reasonable accommodation to disabled members of the public in accessing county programs. Please contact the Washington County Commission Office at 435-634-5700 in advance if you have any special needs. So we thought that that would be important to make an announcement of. Having said that, we'd like to begin now, recognizing we have a few on Zoom, perhaps? Not yet? Anyway, if they come in, we recognize them as well being here. Our pleasure is to have Pastor Jake Dufault of the Westside Baptist Church here to offer our invocation as part of the Interfaith Council, and we recognize you, Pastor, and appreciate your willingness to do this.
Let's have a word of prayer. Lord, we are thankful that you are here with us and that you care about the things that will be discussed throughout this meeting. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful part of southern Utah that we have the privilege of living in. And Lord, we ask that you would give your wisdom and help throughout this meeting. Lord, we pray for our community, our county here, and we pray for those who work tirelessly to make sure it is a safe and pleasant place for us to live. We ask that you would help them in their duties. Lord, as we still are remembering, as we celebrated yesterday and remembered yesterday, we thank you for the freedoms that we have, not only in this county, but in this country. And we thank you for the men and women who have given sacrificially for those freedoms. I pray that you would bless the rest of this time and help us as we do it to glorify you. In Christ's name I pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Please give our best to your congregation and the good work that they do. Super. We're also privileged to have our allegiance to the flag led by Captain Henry Frantz, retired captain, United States Marine Corps. Thank you for being here.
It's my honor. Thank you. Please stand and face the American flag. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank
you. Thank you for your service.
It's interesting to note that probably for 300-400 years, the history of the Marines were always to keep the enlisted, or let's say the crew on a ship, away from the officers. So most of the Marine detachment stayed in a section of the boat between the crew's quarters and the captain's quarters. And they were there for the defense so that a mutiny was less likely. They were that first line of defense, and as most of you know, in this particular case, through the wars we've had, that the Marines were also the first line of offense that would hit the beaches first or hit the troubled areas, and so we have deep respect for our Marines. Our first item then is our consent agenda. It is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than request to remove items, a motion to approve the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve today's consent agenda, consisting of item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for May 18th, 2021 through June 1st, 2021. Item B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of May 18th, 2021. Item C, consideration of administrative adjustments, personal property. Item D, consideration of applications for property tax abatement, of which there are 4. Item E, consideration of applications for settlement or deferral of property tax, and there is 1. And finally, item F, acknowledgement of publishing notice of adoption of ordinance number 2021-1177-0 on Saturday, May 22nd, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I will second that motion.
Thank you both. Motion by Commissioner Cox and second by Commissioner Iverson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Well, I can say that we can't often do this, and we certainly as a county won't keep track. But there are those who should have some acknowledgement for accomplishments in southern Utah. And we have such a special occasion tonight. Recognition of the Enterprise softball team, 2A state champions. And as a way of introduction first, not for the complete team, but Mayor Humphreys, would you come to the mic and then pass the baton however you need to.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. First time in Enterprise history that we've been invited to your council, and what a pleasant surprise it is, and we're grateful to be here. And I will introduce to you our 2021 2A state champion softball team. I'll let Katie Jones, who's our head coach, she will introduce the girls. And girls, if you will, when you are introduced, just come and stand in front of the commissioners right here.
Yep.
In the front, and we'll get a picture of you as you come. The one thing I want to note is we have 1 senior on our team. And so as the team stands before you, she'll have the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, and the senior raise their hands so you can see just how young this was. In the championship game, our pitcher was a freshman, our catcher was a sophomore, and the majority of the team, well, we had 1 senior. So that tells you a little bit about how young this team is and how excited we are for the future with them. So with that, I'll turn it over to Katie Jones.
Thank you, and thanks for having us. It's interesting to have this group of girls knowing that COVID took our season away last year, and so for these girls, most of them haven't played for almost 2 years. So I'll introduce our freshmen first, and the first freshman is Hallie Christensen. Kimberly Bundy. Brooke Humphreys. Our sophomores, Asia Moody, Becca Hess, Haley Drake, and then our juniors, Cassidy Bundy, Kylie Bundy, and Maddie Grobe. And our lone senior is DeKel Jones. We have a few more that aren't here. They also play basketball, and so there was a basketball camp as well. So there was a total of 18 of us that was participated on our team. So. We also like to introduce, or also recognize our assistant coaches, another assistant coach as well, Amanda Jones. So, thank you, and thanks for having us.
Now we're in the picture. So Amanda, come up, and please come up, Coach. And then scrunch a little bit in right here. So it's kind of like the team huddle, but you're all facing the same way. Scoot, scoot. Congratulations. Now, who's our senior?
Great job.
You have to get to the mic and tell one moment when you kind of thought we weren't going to do it, but it happened. Okay, so step up to the mic.
So the first of the season, we were going pretty good. Then about the middle of the season, we had a big rough patch where we lost a couple games in a row. It was like right before state, and our coaches turned to us and kind of said, "Out of all of you, how many have ever played in a state game?" And I raised my hand, thinking I wasn't going to be the only one, but I'm the only one that had ever played in a state game before. And so, because of COVID and just other things, and so then I was a little worried because I was like, I'm the only one that's ever had this experience, but they all stepped up and did amazing. So,
Who did you play in the championship?
we played Beaver. So,
And what was the score?
5-2.
Okay.
I don't remember. Yes.
Fourth time you played Beaver. Okay.
We're like pretty good rivals with Beavers, so that's the.
Okay, what's your advice to the rest of your teammates that are coming back, I hope, right?
Yes, they all should come back, and just to enjoy it because the 4 years goes by so fast, and yeah, you always remember those fun moments that you had all 4 years. So just enjoy it and work hard and have confidence and yeah, have fun. So.
Commissioner, one thing to know with the Cal is she has a full-ride scholarship to Southern Virginia to play softball. She leaves in August to go back.
Wow.
Good for you.
Good job.
Well, you'll love the spirit of that school, and especially their sports, because they always think they're underdogs, no matter where they play. And yet they're very successful with that humble, yet we can do this attitude. So I'm glad you're going.
Thank you.
Great. And remember, you can't do anything with the ball if it goes past you.
Yes. Yeah. Stop the ball
Offense or
first.
defense. Well,
Right.
super.
Thank you for having us. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So.
Congratulations. This
Yeah.
is
Thank
fantastic.
you for coming, and
One more applause.
congratulations.
Yeah, one more applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
you.
Well, we're glad there's some more gold in Enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the trip. That's a lot of fun, and
that
we
is.
appreciate their team effort. And isn't it so true about life? We get halfway through something and you go, I don't think I can do that, but you finish it out anyway. Our consideration of purchase requests, Ray, we appreciate you being here.
Okay. Okay, the first one I have here is for a replacement water softening system for the jail. This is for $24,475.50. The next one I have is for staff rooms for the Ironman North American Championship. This is for a total of $11,240.99. The next one is for media, video, and photography production for the Ironman. This is for $15,600. The next one is for Ironman trophy and partner plaques for $13,700. The next one is co-funding for a winter campaign in Australia. This is in conjunction with Utah Office of Tourism. Washington County's portion is $5,000, so we will be reimbursed $30,000, so this is a total of $35,000. The next one is for some election equipment. There's 4 tabulators, which are the ballot scanners, 5 terminals, which are, these are like the voting machines instead of the paper ballots. And then various equipment, a ballot on demand printer and various other little accessories that we needed. And this is for a total of $46,055, and we'll be reimbursed with Utah state election funds. The next one is for our HCP. This is for layout, design, fabrication, and shipment of signs for Confluence Park. This will be reimbursed via a grant. The next one is for, it's a 50-50 split between Legacy Park and the Shooting Sports Park. This is for a new Ford 1-ton dually pickup. This will be, with a dump bed. This will be used to haul equipment back and forth between the parks and various other places. And that's a total of $65,294.86.
And you're actually able to find a Ford truck?
It's gotta be ordered, but.
Yes, I'm just saying that.
Just don't hold your breath on
Yeah.
when you'll get it.
Right.
Okay.
The next one is for a 2021 John Deere Gator for the Kolob campground, for the campground hosts up there. This is for $10,750.29. The next one is for cutting edges. These are replacement edges for the graders. There's a quantity of 100, but it's really 50 sets. There's 2 per grader, and this is for $11,192.
That's cheap.
The next one is for the sheriff's office. This is for 8 2021 Ford F-150 patrol vehicles and 1 for a new position. This is for a total of $72,050. Well, it's equipment for the patrol vehicles, sorry. I said that wrong.
Does that include installation and all of that, or is that just the equipment?
I will tell you. Yes, it does include installation.
Thank you.
And the next one is 79 millimeter, 124 grain full metal jackets for the sheriff's office. And this is, it's split between patrol and corrections. And this is for a total of $27,195.61. And unless there's any more questions, that's all I have.
Mission will be as hard to get as that Ford pickup.
Yeah.
It's true.
Somebody somewhere, please make one.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly.
Just a note on the very first one you mentioned, the water softener. I think some people would say, wow, that's a lot for a water softener, but I've seen it. It stands,
big
it's
unit.
huge. And
it's
there's
a
a lot of
two-tank-
water
has
that
2
goes
tanks on it.
through there. And I think most people need to understand that without that water softener, a lot of there's probably 2 miles of pipe out there between the buildings as well as the shower heads. It just, water heaters, it's essential, so.
And
I
all the
knew this.
outbuildings and,
Yeah, I knew this one,
services.
old one was going out or it reached its lifespan, so this is not it's not your average garage water softener.
no.
All right, very good. I'm looking for a motion
Yeah,
on those.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the purchase requests that have been outlined for us here by Ray.
And I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
No opposition. Thank you. Item number 3, I need a motion to table that is not, we're not going to see this till another meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table item 3, which is the report on 2021 county tax sale.
And I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. Item number 4 is consideration of ordinance number 2021-1178-0 an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 7, Section 6 and 7 of the Washington County Code to update the membership of the Washington County Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee. Cameron, you're
Yes,
here.
I'll speak to that very briefly. With our amended HCP, which was approved in January of this year, it allowed for one new member to be added
Okay.
to our Habitat Advisory Committee. And we have, that membership is selected by the county commission, and the commission has selected a representative, which will be a later agenda item, I think number 8. But this is just the ordinance to help officially update the expansion of that body.
To allow it, sure. Any questions for Cameron?
So this is part of our HCP renewal. How long is this renewal, and how does it compare with our original HCP grant?
So the HCP renewal is for 25-year term, so it expires in 2046, where all of us will hopefully be retired and doing better things. But it's very similar to the old HCP, with the most significant change, of course, the addition of a new part of the reserve, Zone 6, west of St. George. That's the most significant difference.
And you've already began working on that and making it
Correct.
better habitat than it's been.
Correct, yeah, and there's still a lot of work to do, but we've got law enforcement patrolling it. We're working on fencing, recreation control, and management, so a number of different items related to that.
I would really like to recognize your work and effort in this HCP renewal process. I have a clue of how hard you and the county attorney have worked, and you've done amazing work, so
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And you said 25 years.
25.
Last time it was 20, and I know that there was a lot that argued that they shouldn't extend it even to 20, and so to get 25,
Yeah.
and like Commissioner Cox has mentioned, I think it took 20 years off your life in work effort to lift this and get it done, but
Yeah.
thank you.
I guess they
for
gave
that.
us the extra 5 years because it took us 5 years to negotiate this renewal.
Yeah,
So,
5-year project.
I think they were talking, well, let's do this for 10. And Cameron's like, hey, it's going to take us 10 years at the rate you guys are going to get it done. So, no, thank you. I think it's
Mr.
great.
Chairman, I'd like
you.
to make a motion to approve item 4, consideration of ordinance number 2021-1178-0, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 7, Section 6 and 7, the Washington County Code to update the membership of the Washington County Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second on item 4. Thank you so much.
And as a part of that, just acknowledging Commissioner Cox's efforts on that as well. I mean, he was willing to take a lot of bullets as far as meetings go for the rest of us commissioners and attending those.
It was worth it.
Great
You
job.
got it worked out. And I think when you say, Commissioner Cox, that it's a model, there's lots of these set up, not quite as many as some people think, but when you say the way it's performed is a model for the others, it's example of how to do it.
Thank
you. All righty. Well, having said that, there's a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Great. Item number 5, consideration of ordinance number 2021-1179-0, an ordinance approving the Kolob Terrace roadway dedication plat in Washington County, Utah. Ron.
Thanks, Commissioners. This has to do with a safety project on Kolob Terrace Road. We're realigning a part of that road and putting some Jersey barriers alongside where it goes across the real narrow top of the bluff up there, so we don't have any more accidents of, hopefully, people running off the road. It's a long ways down if they leave the road at all in a couple of those places, so this will be a big improvement to that road.
Great. Well, we'll look for a motion on that.
Yeah, this is a project that has been needed for a while, and so very important. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2021-1179-0, an ordinance approving the Kolob Terrace roadway dedication plat in Washington County.
And, Mr. Chairman, as one who travels that road frequently, this is a much-needed improvement, and it will increase safety. I'd like to second Commissioner Iverson's motion.
Wonderful, yes, very needed. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you. Item number 6 is consideration of resolution R 2021-2776, a resolution authorizing filling a Bureau of Land Management Standard Form 299, which is an application by Washington County to drill test pits on BLM land.
See, is Todd gonna speak to that, or?
Does Ron, but Todd.
Todd would have spoke to the last one if Ron would have seen it.
You're switching?
As part of our process with the NRCS, they have graciously agreed to do a lot of work in the county on flood control. As part of the process on this one, it's in Dameron Valley, Diamond Valley, and on the Shivwitz Reservation. And we're looking to put in some detention basins, possibly up in the Dameron Valley and Diamond Valley areas. And they're on BLM land, so we need permission to go in there and drill, see if they're really feasible sites for dams or not. So this is just authorize us to file that application so that we can get the drillers up there.
So I'm familiar with the Dameron Valley situation. We had a flood about 3 years ago. In fact, I don't think it's rained since. At least it feels that way sometimes. But the amount of water, I think there was almost 3 inches that came down in a very short period of time. And then the Shivwit Reservation one is just a part of NRCS's ongoing flood mitigation effort with us. Is that what that is?
Yeah, this is part of a whole watershed, so that entire
Okay.
watershed that takes in kind of the Santa Clara River area. Under this process, they look at the entire watershed.
Okay.
In that watershed, there were these 3 areas that rose to the top, and so that's what they're focusing on this time, and so that's what they're doing further study on to see what we need to do to make better flood control. In the Shivwitz area, it's mostly erosion control, and also actually has some irrigation component to it. In Dameron and Diamond Valley, it's flood control.
Because most of the basins, if I understand, they kind of put the brakes on the water in order to give it time so it doesn't amass.
Right, that's what we're
Quickly.
looking at mostly in these areas are detention basins to take the flow and then release it at a controlled rate that we can handle downstream. And they would typically go down in a day or two. They allow that water. There's a lot of detention basins all over the county. You just don't notice them a lot,
Yep.
but they save us a lot during flooding events. And we really don't see in the urban areas if they work the way they're designed to.
Well, and the massive ones that are on the east side of Southern Parkway, and even some on the west side of Southern Parkway, nobody really knows they're there, but they'll be appreciative if it ever rains again.
Yeah, we know they're there and we're very appreciative of it. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble on just about any rainstorm, because it seems like somewhere in the county, with any storm that comes through, it's gonna rain hard in one little area, and that's gonna be a 100-year type event in that particular area. And sometimes we don't see any damage from those because of these detention basins that are built. Some of them have been built back in the CCC days, and
Yeah.
Soil Conservation Service built a bunch of them back to save the Washington Fields and Ivans. Ivans would get flooded terribly from the Red Hill every time it rained if they didn't have those basins that they have.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Todd, thank you very much. Item number 6, then, a motion.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, in support of consideration of resolution number R 2021-2776, a resolution authorizing filing Bureau of Land Management, BLM, Standard Form 299, an application by Washington County to drill test pits on BLM land.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2777, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and municipalities to support transit services from St. George to Springdale. Even though this has been assigned to me, I'm going to pass it off quickly to Commissioners Cox and Iverson, not because I can't address it, but because they've done the heavy lifting over this last, I'm going to say more than almost 5 years, 10 years, primarily to accommodate the expenditure of funds that have come to the county on a regular basis to assist in transit. So either one of you want to pick up? I appreciate you giving a little history. And
Well, Commissioner, I don't want you to sell yourself short on your contributions, which have been substantial. UDOT was appropriated funding by the legislature to improve business commerce on different highways and to find improvements that would lower the cost of maintaining roads. And of course, the road from Laverican to Springdale is heavily traveled, and they were, UDOT awarded the county $15 million in support of that effort if the county and the communities would commit to, and that would cover the first 5 years if we would commit to cover it for 10. The county went ahead and passed a 1/4% optional sales tax that big percentage of that, 40% of it, goes to mass transit projects. If community already has a mass transit system like the city of St. George or Ivans contracting with St. George, they already can meet that use that funding for that 40% standard, but we really need the cooperation of those communities, and I applaud the city of St. George for stepping up and really taking the lead in this project, even though they've already got a system. But this ensures that we will have the funding that we need to meet our obligation for the UDOT match, and so I hope that explanation helps.
that's perfect.
Yeah, the county has really just kind of been facilitating in this process. We've gathered the communities together, the various mayors and the council of governments, and talking to them. And I echo what Commissioner Cox says, is that as we were looking at this and trying to figure out how to put together the transit system did come through a process where they evaluated the different options that they had to use this hotspot funding. But this is an agreement where Springdale and other communities along this route will agree that they will participate with that percentage that's been set aside for mass transit. And of course, the county is agreed also to participate, and St. George City will be facilitating how to run the system. So it's, we do a lot of things at the county. We don't necessarily run a mass transit system. So we're excited about building this partnership that will hopefully alleviate some of the traffic up to Springdale and Zion, and also allow the public to get back and forth as well. So,
Well, it's only logical that such a project with such great undertaking and requirement for not only management and maintenance should be done by someone who's done it. And St. George is taking the lead. I think in several meetings, and we've had so many where it's been ironed out, St. George was, like Commissioner Cox said, willing to take it, but they know that it's a heavy lift. And so we want to support them not only in the board, but also in funding. I think if anyone knows and have been up to Zion, Springdale area, they've had parking issue, as well as then just the roadway is not built for that kind of traffic. And they've made improvements over the years. We've all seen that. But generally, when you have a lot of traffic, they say, well, let's build a bigger road. And I don't think that would be the answer, to build a bigger road up to Zion and through some of those communities. But this will take some pressure off to allow them to say we can get people there, not in their car and not congesting the highway anymore. So it's both a logical and a transportation issue, but I think it's also a beautification issue, as well as trying to minimize pollution, which we know canyons tend to get polluted if there's not enough wind movement, et cetera. So everything's been taken into consideration, and enough of that, but I sure appreciate the explanation and the support from Commissioner Cox and Iverson. Looking for a motion on item 7.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-2021-2777, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and municipalities to support transit service from St. George to Springdale.
I will second the motion.
Wonderful. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. It'll be fun to see it come to fruition. All righty. Item number 8.
Kind of like that habitat plan. We've been talking about this for quite a while, and we've sat in a lot of meetings where we've talked about this. So,
Well, if you think the habitat plan moved at a tortoise pace,
yeah.
hopefully this one won't. Item number 8, consideration of resolution number R-2021-2778, a resolution appointing members or a member to the Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee. It's proposed that Carmen Clark be appointed, and that would expire February 28th, 2023. Cameron.
Yeah, this is just a follow-up to item number 4. Carmen Clark has been nominated by you guys, and we're excited to have her join that committee. We think she'll be a great addition, and she's representing the Shivwits Band of Paiutes.
Yeah, Carmen is great. She's been the chairwoman of the band. She's currently serving as the vice chair of the band, right? I believe. And I think it's just important that they have a voice there, that they're able to engage and have their input. And so we're really excited about her willingness, because we kind of called her out of the blue and asked her if she'd be willing to do this. And Cameron called her and visited with her about the details of this. But she's a fantastic citizen in our county, and will do a good job at representing that important point of view that needs to be represented on this.
And it might also be worth mentioning that they've been very welcoming this year in allowing us to enter their property and perform tortoise surveys on their property. And we've been very surprised by the number of tortoises we've found on the Shivwits Reservation. So it's been a great project where we've been able to partner and cooperate with them. And I think that this will be even improved with the addition of Carmen Clark on this capacity, serving in this capacity.
Fantastic.
And meeting with her, she's very smart. She knows exactly what's best for her community, but also the county-wide. I'm glad that you were able to get her to participate.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Need a motion then, item 8.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2778, a resolution appointing a member to the Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee, person being Carmen Clark, with the term expiring February 28th, 2023.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item number
Cameron.
9, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2779, a resolution approving Tourism Tax Advisory Board recommendations. Brittany.
Hello, Commissioners. So this request came through the Tourism Advisory Board last Thursday. It's for 3 basketball tournaments, and I see that there's actually an error on the resolution. The first set of dates is incorrect. It should be July 23rd through the 25th, and then July 29th through the 31st, and September 3rd, 4th, and 6th. So the recommendation from the Tourism Advisory Board was to fund each of these events kind of based on how many teams they get. So there's a deadline of if they get so many teams before a certain date, they'll fund this much. If they get the max amount of teams for each tournament, the maximum would be $28,000. And that is to pay for courts at both Nets on Fire and the Washington City Recreation Center, and also for some officials and that type of thing. So for this first year, they're not requiring the teams to pay a registration fee. So they're trying to attract as many teams as they can. And we're anticipating that there will be teams from all of the Western United States come to these tournaments. And it could be something that we would continue on year after year if they're successful.
Well, for those dates, they will need, the nets probably will be on fire.
Yeah.
It will be
If they're
appropriate,
outside,
right?
anyway.
Yeah, we made several calls to our lodging partners, and they were absolutely thrilled at having these type of events in July, kind of our shoulder seasons in St. George. So,
Well, it's a great time of year to do this and to bring them in. And I really like how you're able to prorate that expense based on how many teams participate. So
Yep.
thank you for all of your effort on that.
Thank you.
Are these full teams? It's not a 3-on-3, it's a full team?
Full teams.
Well, that's a lot of people.
A lot of people. The estimated economic impact is over 2.5 million per tournament.
I believe it, because if you even conservatively took the
It's
governor's
conservative.
rate of each individual that's coming here, then you easily reach that 2.5 million.
Yeah, and we only added 1.5 people per person coming
Yeah.
with each athlete, which is very conservative.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Okay. Like Kevin, I mean, he's got a trainer, you've got,
Yeah.
massage therapist, you've got, mental therapist. Well, it's certainly fun to see things opening back up, and I know it'll be done right, so. Is there a motion on?
Yeah,
item
Mr.
nine?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2779, resolution approving Tourism Tax Advisory Board recommendations that have been outlined to us.
And I'll second.
Motion and a second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Our next one, super important. I hope he's ready. Consideration of resolution number R 2021-2780, a resolution in support of state fire restriction orders. Adam Heyer.
As everybody should know by now, we went into fire restrictions on the 26th of May, so probably for this foreseeable future, the outlooks from the Great Basin do not look very well, so if the monsoon moisture don't show up, it's going to be a bad fire season. And we went into restrictions because we were seeing an uptick in human-caused fires, and I think it was appropriately done because we've been averaging 2 or 3 fires a day in the county for about a week now. This weekend was extremely busy with a lot of people doing nonsense, all human-caused fires.
That was my question, Adam. What percentage of these are caused by people and could be avoided?
100%. 100% human-caused. And a lot of different things. We even had one at Sand Hollow that was fireworks already.
Really? Must have been from Las Vegas. Just kidding.
Well,
I did cringe. I was at the store, the particular grocery store that I go to has probably 50% tourists. And the cashier, usually asks if they want some ice, but he asked, do you want some ice and firewood? And I was thinking, oh no. And I don't know what we do, but I have seen at the same location people packing out bundles of firewood, and I'm like thinking to myself, there's a high likelihood that they're not in a designated camping ground, and they're not around like a concrete fire pit. And so,
and the sheriff's office has been all over it, shutting people down. Even as school got out, they have those senior sunrises, those sort of things. One individual was ticketed, and deputy made them put it out versus the fire department put it out. So that's a pretty good lesson for those.
yeah, I almost feel like anybody that puts on Facebook free pallets, they should say free pallets not for burning.
Right.
And so that people understand, because a lot of times I think people do gather them up. They think they can go have their bonfire.
And they are pushing a statewide campaign this year. I don't know if you've seen what Governor Cox pushed out, but they did an RFP bid, and Bonneville Communications received that bid, so they're partners in that, and they've brought a lot of partners to the table, like Maverick, Flying J Pilot. They're all owned by the same company, so that hopefully we can get some messages out that way, so people aren't just buying a bunch of firewood and going and shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think that needs to be communicated when people buy firewood, that they can only burn it at certain locations. So.
Right.
Thank you for your work and effort in fighting
Adam.
the fires that we've already had here in Washington County, and we've been fortunate, I think, that we've been able to keep them contained to the sizes they've been. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2780, a resolution in support of state fire order.
Thank you.
And I will second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate that. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. You don't think, Commissioner Iverson, that they're buying that firewood to whittle with, just?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe they're buying the firewood to build a pallet.
No, it's kind of scary because we had one that was 60 acres, 59 acres, I think Adam said, and could have easily gotten away.
Oh, yeah.
And if we'd had the winds of 10 days ago, that fire may have gone right up and over Pine Valley, and the Pinto fire might have gone to Newcastle. Who's to say? And that, it doesn't take much, don't you agree, Adam? There's a point where you say, okay, we got it, and then something happens, and then you don't have it. The wind events, and they jump. They carry something a mile ahead, and you don't even know. Well, we appreciate what you do, like Commissioner Cox said. Our next item, number 11, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2781, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, the Washington County Water Conservancy District, and the Fish and Wildlife Service for employee cost sharing. Our county attorney, Eric Clark.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. What this agreement does is it seeks to bring a Fish and Wildlife employee down here to have them be based in Washington County. The reason that can help us is because so often as our private property owners and as our municipalities try to navigate the federal bureaucracy for whether it's a new road going in Long Valley or a bridge going in over the Virgin River, all of those things involve applications to the BLM and then BLM consultation with the Fish and Wildlife Service. And having a Fish and Wildlife Service employee based down here, ideally we're going to try, housing them with Cameron's folks in our HCP office, just lets that person be on the ground, lets the projects flow directly to them rather than, having to meander all the way up to Salt Lake and then find their way to their desk. And we're hoping it just makes those things a little bit more efficient in the process. So what this interlocal proposes is that the county would pay $15,000 a year for 2 years. The water district would chip in an additional $5,000, and then the county would provide office space. And frankly, it seems like a screaming deal if that makes things more efficient for our property owners and for our cities that are working on all these projects.
I think it will increase their familiarity with what we're trying to do and just make them more knowledgeable, and a better understanding may have really good outcomes for the county as well.
I think the citizens of the county need to understand the reason the county participates like this, and not only what Cameron does in his effort with the HCP, but also in this particular incident, and then also like the Virgin River program as well. It really kind of brings it more to a local focus and makes sure that there's this cooperation between agencies and us that really does kind of benefit citizens of our county. Sometimes they probably wonder, why are we so engaged? And it's because if we weren't, their lives would be made much more difficult in just all kinds of access issues that they wanted to do. So this, I support this. I think it's a good idea.
Well, and we're at a critical time. There's almost like saying there's no critical time, but right now there's so many things that our federal agencies need to be involved with. And I sat next to a city council woman from Maryland once. I'm trying to think if it was Baltimore or what city she was from. And she was explaining all the federal projects that were happening in the harbor and whatnot. I go, you seem to get a lot done here. And she goes, it helps to have Washington, D.C. next door. Yeah. And so I'm saying, hey, bring someone here to see the needs. It's a good move. So thank you, Eric. Any other further explanation? You good?
No, thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 2021 R-2021-2781, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, the Washington County Water Conservancy District, and the Fish and Wildlife Service for an employee cost sharing.
And I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. unanimously. Item 12, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2782, resolution approving an award of bid and execution of a contract for construction of Collab Terrace Road retaining walls. Todd.
As Ron mentioned earlier, we're beginning the process of putting up some Jersey barriers along Collab Terrace Road. As part of that, it's much more efficient for us to put some retaining walls up to hold those barriers up because we just don't have enough width.
Room.
And so we got some walls designed, bid it out, got a total of one bid. And we're lucky to get one bid. There's quite a few bids now that aren't getting any bids at all because contractors are really busy. Prices are expensive, probably not the best time to do it, but it's a project that needs to be done. And so we got one bid from Interstate Rock for $192,958. So we're recommending that we approve that bid and get started with this project.
Thank you, Todd. I've seen the aftermath of what's happened as people have lost control. And that really does restrict in a couple of places right to the edge of the road. And there's nothing to prevent people who may become distracted something from losing a wheel. And if they drop the tire off the edge, the car is going to go too. And so I think this is a great improvement. We've been working on public safety. I mean, Public Works has been working on this for some time. And I think you've really realized some savings on the Jersey barriers, some of those things that I think make this still a very cost-effective project. So I would make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2782, a resolution approving an award of bid and execution of contract for construction of Collab Terrace Road retaining walls.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, and the minutes will note the price from Interstate. Okay. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Commissioner reports, item 13.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a little announcement that I'd like to make.
Okay, we wish you wouldn't.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a tough one. It has been such an honor and privilege for me to work with the county for 3 months shy of 30 years. But it's become obvious to me that I need to look at the structure of what I'm doing and priorities that I have, and that I step back from my seat as county commissioner. I would like to make that resignation effective at the end of July so that there will be plenty of time for qualified candidates to step forward. There are a lot of people that do a great job. I have been so fortunate to work with great department heads. My fellow commissioners have been awesome. And all of the co-workers, it's just, this county is a well-oiled machine, and we're so fortunate we're that way. It's not always that way everywhere. And so it's with really tough mixed feelings that I make this announcement, but it's one that I've done after a lot of thoughtful consideration and consultation with my family and others who I trust. So that's my announcement.
Victor, would you join me for a second? Well, I don't think there'll be enough words really to over 30 years of experience and contributions from those who know you who've been influenced by you and seen your example. There's, in my living room, there's an Encyclopedia Britannica that we still have mostly as decoration. But I often look at it and say, I wish I could just start and read every single one of those. But I look to you as kind of that Encyclopedia Britannica for the county history and how things have developed and what projects you've been involved in. And I feel shortchanged a bit because I only get to skim each volume. But I promise you that you'll get some phone calls
That would be great.
that say, what's your take on this? It'll be a valuable asset to us, and we know your family loves you and has been a huge part of this decision, and spend wonderful time with them.
You know, as county commissioners, we have a chance. I sometimes say, and I don't know if this is the best analogy, I say being on a county commission is a little bit like being in an arranged marriage. And I only say that partly to describe the closeness of the relationship that we have with each other, and yet the differences that we bring in discussing things. And almost every meeting we have our emergency services report, where we talk about all of the search and rescue hours. And we have to remember that Commissioner Cox, really, that's when he came into his service of the county, is helping in those search and rescue. And I always think about those people that are willing to get up in the middle of the night in a snowstorm and go rescue a stranger. And that's the type of service that Dean has given this county and given his fellow citizens from the very beginning. And up there, and another thing a lot of people don't know about this is that Commissioner Cox is actually quite a geek when it comes to technology and radios, and that's also where he really shined in putting together the towers and making sure that there was communication going on. And you know, I've known Commissioner Cox for a long time, but being able to serve as a fellow county commissioner with him has been a highlight of my service as a county commissioner, and also my relationship in knowing you, Commissioner Cox, and what you've given to this county, and how much you deeply love this county. And when Commissioner Cox is talking about the resources and this county, he is looking at it in the same way that he would look at it for like his own resources. And he takes care of it, and he deliberates, and he makes sure that what's going on in the county is in the best interest of the county. I've seen that over and over again, and I just really appreciate your service. I appreciate how you've been fighting through what you're dealing with right now, and just the courage that you do, and you just bring it every day. You've never stopped working really, really hard as a county commissioner, and just, it's been an honor. It is an honor.
Thank you both so much. It's hard for me to not be emotional. It's just,
Us too.
it's been a phenomenal experience.
Well, Dean has heard me say this, and Victor too, and most everyone, but years ago, Dean and I were rivals in an election. And many times we'd be in a debate together, and I would say, I want to win, but I really probably should lose. He is far more qualified and experienced, and despite my city council experience, it doesn't compare with what you have to do in a county.
I
And-
think we got the best of both worlds.
Well-
I've really enjoyed working with you.
I've told my wife and others, I said that was the best election I ever lost, because later then we would be able, not on the same cycle, for me to be elected and work with you, and I've cherished that.
And they love to speak German.
Yeah, das
And
stimmt.
they're really quite fluent. I'm impressed that after all these years, they can really speak fluent German.
Yep.
So
We've never made any decisions in German. Want to point that out.
that
to
I
our-
knew of.
Our attorneys are present, so they need to know that. But we certainly have enjoyed the fun of that common second language, and I'll miss that. We have very heavy hearts, Dean, and we'll cherish the next days that we have together. But we know that we love your family and you, and express that openly. Thank you. Yeah.
We already said this, but Dean sat through a lot of meetings for that HCP in Northern Corridor, and when Alan stepped aside, if Dean wouldn't have been there, I would have had to sit through those meetings, and I knew it. So I can remember right after Dean was elected, he was like, "I'll take that on," and I was like, "Yes, that would be a good idea." So, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, there'll be more celebrations to come in honoring you, Dean, and we hope that you don't like the honor, I get it, but we certainly feel it, and we don't know how else to give back. You're welcome. We're adjourned.